On to something else now, and time to turn our attention to the election front. Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. The two candidates couldn't be more different, but they have found common ground. Both have harnessed anti-establishment support. Sanders and Trump are both making appeals to voters partially based on their independence from big money donors. Trump cites his prior backing of candidates as evidence that he knows the system is rigged. And Sanders blames super PACs and other top donations as the reason there hasn't been change in Washington. So typically liberals have supported campaign finance reform the most, but now we're seeing both sides of the aisle calling for getting big money out of campaigns. Has big money hurt other candidates like Clinton and Cruz? And is our campaign finance system corrupt? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you. Weigh in right now on our Fox 26 Facebook page, or you can join the discussion on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26 for life. We've got our panel in our newsroom. It's led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. A lot to answer there, so we'll let you guys take it away. What do you think?
That was a mouthful there. You know, it's funny because we have been analyzing big money since PACs really started investing so much money in campaigns. And I highlight Karl Rove in the last presidential election. He had $100 million that he doled out to candidates. He did not win one race. And so while there's a lot of people in the country that think PACs and big money are bad for the system, they don't seem to be translating into the victories that a lot of people thought was going to happen, Jackie Bally, when we started looking at this. Jeb Bush started this with $100 million in campaign finance, and he's now at 4%. Two people who are not using big money are at the top, Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders.
Every time we have an election cycle, we talk about campaign reform, and we look at how campaigns are funded. And that is something that is just human nature. I've always felt that if someone wants to, and the example you use with Karl Rove, if someone wants to invest that kind of money, that is their prerogative. That's called the American system. But the one thing I will say is you have the grassroots that have been working in the Republican Party for quite some time. So big money PACs have not been successful in the way that they have been in the past, maybe 20 years or so, because now you have the Tea Party where you have grassroots, and they're coming up with more working the trenches, working the phones, and getting the voters out. Even if you don't have the super PAC funding.
The Tea Party's raising a lot of money, though.
Tea Party candidates like Ted Cruz, whenever he was in the David Dewhurst, you looked at how much money David Dewhurst had when he ran for Senate in the Senate race, and you look at the PACs that supported Ted Cruz, there was a big difference. Usually Tea Party candidates are underfunded.
There is something corrupting about that much money coming to one single candidate, isn't there?
It's a huge corrupting factor. 158 families funded nearly half of the presidential election on both sides of the aisle up until last summer. Think about that. We live in a country of 320 million people, and 158 families are contributing half. Even if their candidates don't get elected, what it does, it defines the debate on which people argue and debate over. They're defining the issue. So when we talk about the death tax, the reason why that keeps coming up is it affects the donors, not the general public.
And we got to go to Sally, but if someone gives a candidate $100 million, you expect your phone call returned. Right.
Well, okay, but Bernie Sanders is the example we're using. He raised $33 million the last quarter, which is only $4 million less than Hillary Clinton.
Right.
So it doesn't really translate that just because you have super PACs supporting you and the other candidate doesn't, that you're outraising them.
Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, folks, let's head over to Twitter now and take a look at one of our tweets coming from our loyal viewer, Ben again. He's been up with us all morning long. We love Ben. Ben says, Bernie and Donald are proving that when you can resonate with people, you don't need to spend $1 billion to win. And then RJ Rusak says, Sanders and Trump both have an overarching narrative that works for them. For Sanders, it's campaign finance. For Trump, American decline. Do you agree with those comments?
You know, they are certainly resonating with voters. I still don't understand how Bernie Sanders, who's been in office longer than everybody in the race combined, can be the outsider. But those two individuals, without raising money, are not with super PACs, I mean, are leading in the polls. And so there is something to this, but this race is about an outsider. So I don't know that big money is really the issue here this year.
Well, there is some element of big money. Donald Trump is a billionaire. He has his own
Yeah,
private plane.
he's got his own.
He's been,
his own super PAC.
he's run his reality show. He's been on television for a long time, and money had a factor of him being there. And Bernie Sanders, although he's not getting money from big families, he is raising small dollars on the internet. So, money has a factor in this because it gives people the ability to communicate. And in the case of big money being in campaigns, when it's a few handful of families that are driving the debate in our country, something's wrong.
And
Well,
on your
Donald Trump's
point-
his own super PAC, but Bernie Sanders is doing what we thought that you should do as a candidate. Just give me what you can, and I'm going to make it work.
Well, Bernie Sanders is resonating with voters and climbing the polls because he's running against Hillary Clinton, who is viewed as not trustworthy and have her own set of issues. So it's often in politics and in campaigns, it's more about who you're running against as opposed to who you are.
So is that why Donald Trump's beating Ted Cruz?
Well, who says Donald Trump is beating Ted Cruz? We haven't seen
I'm
one
just making
single,
fun.
we
I'm
haven't
just
seen
making
one
fun of
single
you.
poll yet for full. But it's always about what the message is. And Bernie Sanders is resonating with millennials, even though you bring up Katy Perry all the time. Hillary Trump is putting Hillary Clinton is putting Katy Perry out there, but millennials are ignoring her, and they're going to Bernie Sanders.
Final thought. We got to go.
Look, money has a corrupting factor in our politics, and both sides should work together to change it.